Welcome to the first Alfie Brown Show of 2022. The year has moved on another notch, another number, and we're now another one ahead than we were before, which makes very little tangible difference to the living of our everyday lives, but each new year does offer some opportunity to psychologically reinvigorate yourself. So you might like to psychologically reinvigorate yourself by coming up with some resolutions. You might resolve to do something that you hadn't thought that you needed to do before, and maybe with a pen and a piece of paper, you sat down and you thought, this is the habit that I don't currently have in my routine, that if I implemented on whatever sort of basis would improve the quality of my life, the sort of person that I want to be. And I'm using how satisfying the turning over of a new year is to me psychologically to invigorate myself with the motivation needed to read more, exercise more, learn a new language. It's actually just my New Year's resolution is to, or it might be to be like the ones that often succeed that feel more wishy-washy are the ones like trying to be more positive. I mean, I don't really know that anybody's ever had a New Year's resolutions almost always fail and work at the same time, in that it never works in the clean sweep way that you're hoping it will, in that you resolve to read more and then you just suddenly read more forever. But you do for a little bit and then maybe it'll fall away, but you'll be aware of the habit. You having to endure the knowledge of yourself as being lacking in this department, and then promising yourself that you will fulfill this habit as part of your routine more frequently, and then failing. The whole thing means that you're just more psychologically aware of the thing that you think that you're lacking. So thumbs up for New Year's resolutions. Mine will, and 'twas ever thus, to establish myself a routine at all. I think before I have a resolution that needs to include anything like, I'm going to go for a morning swim. If I'm going to add anything to my routine, I need to at least first have a routine to add to. And as a freelance stand-up comic who performs in the nights and podcasts under softbox light over here to my right, this, I suppose, is the closest thing I've got to a routine, and I've fucked it up a little bit over the Christmas period because I've been incredibly ill. Maybe I should say that before I start maundering on about my New Year's resolutions. Maybe I should apologise to you, for those of you that matters, for there being no Christmas episode. But I was ill. Was I ill with COVID? No, I was not ill with COVID. Are there still other things that you can get ill with that don't feel pleasant and that do mean you have to stay in bed or feel like shit? Yes, there are. I had a PCR test whilst feeling under the weather. If any of you are aware of that Feeder song. I was feeling like a dog's shit. So, but incredibly aware of my sinuses, mucus occurring under my eyes. And I don't know how many of you were ill over the Christmas period, but I was ill, and it became quite important that I blow my nose frequently. And upon blowing my nose frequently, I don't mind telling you how impressed I was, almost in awe of the contents of my hanky flannel. I would wash it every. Just shut up, okay? I don't need your judgment. And this is a window into my life, okay? I used a flannel every time. For the environment. Is it more environmentally friendly to use a flannel than tissue paper, given that you throw tissue paper away? Yes, it comes from trees, but you have to wash a flannel. If you wash it on a cold enough temperature, perhaps, is that killing all the bugs in the flannel? These are all good questions, and I'm sure that Greta Thunberg at some point will be addressing these when she finally gets her book deal that tells us all how we can live our lives and make our incremental changes. Chapter 1. You must use a flannel to blow your nose because we cannot be cutting down any more trees. So yeah, I felt really bad, and that's the situation. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to podcast, but listen, this is the thing about a one-person podcast, is that if the one person is ill, the podcast doesn't happen. And I don't know how much other solo podcasters like Tim Dillon or Bill Burr or Sarah Silverman, what happens when they get ill. Have they ever missed an episode, or do they just do it groggily, Fleming all over the microphone? But as you can hear now, I'm still not at my I'm not in peak condition. So anyway, this podcast, as I was saying before, I delved into my actually quite aggressive apology. I need routine, more routine. Give me my fucking routine, okay? And the routine is great. Doing the podcast has meant that I have some sort of structure, that I write more. I feel like I have the wherewithal to create other things and do other things. So it really has been it's been life-changing in that since I started doing it, my life has changed. I suppose life-changing we often associate with, like, I'm now famous, but I'm not. It's made very little difference in that department. And one of the things I think maybe I could resolve to do is get better with clipping stuff up. I've got to find a way to clip this podcast up to go viral on Reels, and I think and then have longer chunks. Again, I think I know more or less now what needs to be done. It's just a case of actually doing it and having to watch yourself back to cut all this shit up. Man, oh man. This is the final, and I've threatened you with this before, brothers and sisters, but never before have I meant it. I have Central London recording space. Oh my God. Also, this podcast, Jessie is at the end of this. I talked to Jessie at the end of this podcast. Yeah, so there you are. That's why she's in the thumbnail, because I talked to her at the end of the podcast, and she occurs later, but we recorded it earlier. And so let me know what you think of that. I apologise because I think the sound is pretty bad, actually. So sorry about that. Yeah. But me, being somebody who has often, routine-wise, floundered slightly in wet shit, you would think that my children give me a little bit more routine, but it's just generally waking up earlier than I otherwise would do. It can often be confused with routine, but I wouldn't if I were you. I'm not one of those people that can have the same breakfast every morning. You know, my friend is a guy who can have he has the same breakfast every morning. I just don't know. It sort of looks like a really nice breakfast, and I would be really enthusiastic about having it for about a week, I think. And then you put the oats in the bowl with the raisins in the dough, and you put your oat milk on the oats, and then that's like a chaotic amount of oats. It's like, I suppose it's like having ice in water, isn't it? I mean, ice in water. With the water not watery enough for you, did you need to have like another form of? That's like pouring oat milk on your oats. In a way, isn't it? This is why I don't clip up my podcast more. is because it's me talking about oats, pouring oats on your oat milk, and what that means, like physically. What would be the other way that you could? I suppose on MasterChef they'd call it deconstructed oats with oats. It's like duck with a duck mousse. Do they do that ever? Is that something that they have? I've got some things to talk about today, and as that's what I was talking about, this is the last podcast in this space, in this room, and then I am flying forth on the wings of an eagle to my new central London recording premises. It's actually, I've got this room for a little bit. It's a spare room that I have access to for a little while. Lucked out, really. And, yeah, it might be temporary. So I need the podcast to really start earning some money, or I need to start earning some money soon, before I can't record there anymore, and I need to get a proper studio. And that's ultimately the dream, isn't it? To have a proper studio that befits the aesthetic of the thing that I'm trying to provide, whatever that is. Very important these days, I think. I hope you've all seen Don't Look Up. I hope you've all been on Netflix watching Don't Look Up. I hope you've all got an opinion on Don't Look Up. I hope you've all posted your opinion about Don't Look Up to Twitter so that we could all read it. I've really enjoyed reading all of your opinions about Don't Look Up. Thank you so much for them. I'm not going to tell you my opinion on Don't Look Up. It's a secret. But just one of those things where everybody's opinion on Don't Look Up, I found it all kind of quite bamboozling. Not just that so many people... I understand the urge to tweet your opinion about something, especially when it's negative. It always looks overly critical or negative when you have an opinion that is negative, and that's the one that you go to tweet, rather than just saying, oh, I thought that I think Blade Runner's great. Tweet, that's boring. Whereas, oh my God, you actually like such and such a thing, is an incredibly... we react a lot more to it. The algorithm likes anger on Twitter, as I'm sure you might have noticed if you're a Twitter user. The algorithm responds to anger, so when you have a bad opinion about something, it's obviously made you angry. But also, it's satisfying to have a negative opinion about something and then air it, because you want to know that you're not alone. Like, especially with something like Don't Look Up. The reason why everybody was so wanted to tell you what their opinion on it was because there were only passionate opinions. There were only people who hated it and only people who loved it. And I can totally understand. Everybody's like thinks it's remarkable that people, I can't believe so many people loved it and so many people hated it. And you just, well, it's obvious, isn't it? Like when you watch it, it's obviously either shit or brilliant. Or, I mean, I thought it was fine. That is my opinion. I thought it was pretty good. Do you like Don't Look Up? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, really good. You should watch it. Yeah. Yeah, it's worth your time. Yeah. Have you seen No Time to Die yet? Yeah, well, watch that instead. Watch that first. Definitely watch that first. Why? Because it's better, I think. What you want from a movie, you get more of from watching No Time to Die. If what you want is to feel sort of excited and entertained for ages and moved and like terrified, Rami Malek's brilliant in it. He's a kind of really kind of harrowingly demented bad guy, and the Daniel Craig Bond being the most sort of feeling and emotive Bond yet really has its... Really, it gets given time to breathe much more in this film than any of the others, with that, which actually goes further to it imbue the action scenes with more import, because you get the feeling that he's genuinely fighting for something. Obviously, it's still entertainment, not art, if you kind of think about everything on either side of that line, where you've got art one side and entertainment one side. In my opinion, it would be the entertainment side of that. The difference between art and entertainment being that possibly that maybe art asks you what you feel, and entertainment tells you what to feel. There are other differences. I'm sure that if we had longer on that definition, we could go into it more, but it's one of my own personal bullshit theories about life that may or may not be true. But yes, you should watch No Time to Die. It's rather brilliant. But also watch Don't Look Up if you have time the next day. There are loads of films. There's one called Una with Rooney Mara, and it's a remake of a play by David Harrower called Blackbird, in which an abuse victim, but I'm not sure that the whole point of it is I'm not sure if she would self-identify as an abuse victim, goes back to meet the teacher who abused her. Again, it felt consensual to her at the time when she was 12 or whatever she was. And she tries to kind of make sense of the relationship that she felt they had when she was a child. And David Harrower, by the way, the playwright, is a fine example in this play of nominative determinism. Harrower by name, Harrower by nature. So there are some film recommendations that you could enjoy. What was the other one I watched recently? I haven't actually seen Una yet. I've only seen the actual original play. I went to go and see it with my father. We watched this rather disgusting, and I didn't think it was very good, but I was only a child when I watched it, so I couldn't actually tell you with any good judgment of whether or not the play what was good. Of course, I'm a big believer in things, either being good. You can tell. I hate the whole, in my opinion, in your opinion's a belief. And if it's a belief, you don't need to qualify it with in my opinion. It's a washout. If you believe something's good, then argue for it. Okay? Otherwise, what do we care about? Fucking nothing. Get a grip, prick. So I totally understand the whole Don't Look Up thing. In fact, instead of arguing about VAR, the video assistant referee on Match of the Day and Sky Sports football, they should have been arguing about Don't Look Up. I want to know what Graham Souness thought of the sort of farcical satire of uncaring governments' reaction to global catastrophes. That's what I want to. I think Jamie Carragher. I think Gary Neville liked Don't Look Up, but he didn't understand it. Jamie Carragher didn't really like it, but he's pretending he did. Thierry Henry loved it. Graham Souness hated it, and Jamie Redknapp hasn't seen it. That's what that is what I think that everybody who has watched Don't Look Up of the Sky Sports punditry team, that's what they all think of it. And everybody, all the pundits who work at BT Sport, they haven't seen it either. They've never seen any films. They only watch Babe Station. That's the only thing that any pundit who works at BT Sport has ever seen, because they are rubbish. So I hope you all had a nice New Year's Eve, and that I'm not really sure how much was open. It wasn't really important to me because I wasn't going outside anyway. I made the decision to stay indoors. I've tendered my resignation, I think, from New Year's Eve. I don't wish to take part in it anymore. I'd like to have no role in any of what you want to do and if you do want to do something on New Year's Eve, that's fine. I don't want to be a part of it, and I'd like that to be okay. I'd like you to I'd like you to be okay. I'm not saying you don't have a good time. You have a good time. I don't want to be there. I want to be at home, and I maybe like go to watch a firework or something, or have a nice bun or like a treat. Maybe a glass of champagne at home would be nice. But I don't want all of this mad, organised, having to see loads of people, having to have this, what does it all mean? Happy. I find the new year quite scary, albeit I've like at the beginning slightly taken the piss out of people who need the psychological clean slate effect of a new year to embark upon new positive routines and habits. But I find I think because I find the passage of time quite harrowing. Maybe my New Year's resolution should be to stop the ravages of time from affecting me at all, and I should stay in a state of just age stasis forever. I'll be 34 forever from now on. My New Year's I resolve to stop aging. But then, I don't really want to do that either. I'd quite like to age. I think it'd be quite good for my career. So maybe there's just some mindfulness. What's your mind full of? It's just full of mind. It's mindfulness. So I've like a few friends. That'd be nice. One friend is ideal. Hanging out. What do you want to do? Can we watch something? Or I don't know. Should we cook something? Whenever there is pressure to have a good time, I always, and it's my fault. That's the thing. It's my fault. There's some sort of circuiting problem with my brain whereby I can't enjoy something. I think I would have to get really fucking hammered. And a lot of my best nights do come when I am, drunk, hammered, have had something to drink. But I don't have to get to the point where I can engage with what it is with an open heart. And that's very much New Year's for me. Oh, it's a really great time when we can all get together. I know, but it's me. I'm not doing this to fuck you off. I'm simply doing this because I don't want... what is it? It's something to do with maybe the tradition, the kissing on the cheek and the auld lang syne, the fact that there are now so many New Year's Eves. When I was a kid, New Year's Eve was this special kind of... This came round, the same way that kind of Christmas turns into something else when you're an adult. Your birthday turns into something else when you're an adult. As an adult, my birthday has become a time very much that I set aside to ruminate on my failures. In a career sense, almost exclusively in a career sense. Totally exclusively in a career sense. I think about my age as it directly relates to where I am in my career, and then will think for some time and perhaps about other people who have ascended to a higher or place, whatever my particular insecurity d'anniversaire is. I'll focus on that. Maybe it's income, Maybe it's somebody who's really good and I'm really annoyed about that. Can happen. Usually it's income. Christmas is a time that I feel filled with sorrow about other people. So I become incredibly and overwhelmingly sad about people with difficult lives. Tiny Tim syndrome. I'm not meaning to say that I don't do anything about it. I'm not like, oh, wow, I'm such a good guy that... Wow, you must be really impressed to hear about how sad I get about other people's sadness. I don't do anything about it. I simply go, that's my present to myself. I get to feel really sad for everybody else who doesn't have a good life, and then I don't do anything about it. And I go, Merry Christmas, and I tie my inaction in a bow. And there you go, have another year's inaction. And then next year on Christmas Day, you can become sad about those who are without. Thank you, me. Although this year I didn't even do that. I was cooking, which really takes your mind off of it. Cooking for everybody means that you just, you're out of it. I cooked for everybody. With Jessie's sister Bibi, me and her cooked, and we laid on a good spread. Everybody was complimentary, whether they meant it or not. Fuck 'em. Watched a bit of Strictly Come Dancing, The Christmas Bastard, or whatever it's called, and then sat off back home with the kids, who got on with falling asleep or eating cake or whatever it was they do. So new, and there we go, and that brings us round to New Year. So we've got personal failure. The failure of sort of the global society to protect its vulnerable, and New Year is just a more existential dread about the passage of time and its just unrelenting journey into the future, and I think possibly a mourning of everything that is past. Going, I remember when the year turned 99, and I found that incredibly scary, and that was 20 years ago, and time just keeps on, and it's not a profound thing to say, is it? It's not a new thing to say. I mean, it's been in song, hasn't it? And the Magnetic Fields, I think it was, did they sing about how time keeps marching on? So I'm in no position to really offer anything new on the subject of time and its cruel tyranny over all of us, and the whole notion of time. And then I just get lost on New Year's Eve in these whirlpools of kind of chaotic anxiety about, would maths exist if there were no humans? Have we invented maths? What is the world? And all of these. I would love to turn it all off. But New Year's Eve really dials it up to 11. So I just have to sit down and watch whatever it was I watched. What did I watch? I was about to mention that, wasn't it? After Love with Joanna Scanlon, about a widow who goes to France to search for her dead husband's secret life, his other life, his second life. Pardon me. Anyway, I found a bunch of old notebooks when I was clearing out. It's brilliant, genuinely. After Love, you should watch that film. That's the best one that I've seen recently, of all of them. Hey, I found this cool notebook. It's quite a cool notebook in terms of its pages. But I used to do this thing where I would read a book, and then I would make notes on the book in a notebook. and I read a book called Reclaiming Conversation by Turkle, and I've got all the notes of it here. So I thought I'd go through some of them and see how much I can actually remember of the book that I read. And that's one of my big insecurities about reading all these books, or the books that I do read, is how much of them do you actually remember? Like, how much of it is useful, permanent information? How much of the information can you use in a later life to really... how much of it stays with you? This inability to engage with ourselves or others destroys our faculty for empathy. A case for conversation. Real talk between people. Real people with their unpredictable ways can be difficult to contend with after one has spent a stretch in simulation. Yeah, she's talking... It's a book about the new generation losing themselves to a digital world and therefore no longer being able to engage with each other properly. It makes the point that we're losing our empathy because we engage so much online. Online bullying, obviously, a very big problem, and it's something I think I've spoken about before, whereby you're much more afraid of being when you have somebody else, like when you're at school, the primary school. I don't know if anybody else has a memory of either having somebody be horrible to them or being horrible to somebody. There's no shame. I mean, obviously you should feel a little bit of shame about having been horrible to somebody at primary school, but not an irreparably kind of permanent, looming sense of awfulness. You know, if you feel shame about it, that means your faculties are working in the right way, I guess. But as soon as you have that moment at primary school where somebody is either mean to you or you are mean to somebody, and they show you hurt and pain, if you're not a psychopath, you'll be able to engage with the way that they've responded and have a human reaction that tells you, ooh, that felt bad, I don't want to hurt people anymore, I'm going to not do that. Or you have somebody hurt you and then you go, ooh, that hurt my feelings, I wouldn't want to do that to somebody else. And you develop thus, and you might fuck it up again. You might have had somebody be mean to you, and then be mean to somebody else, and go, "Hey, you shit! You look really bad in the school trousers. They don't suit you like they suit me." Whatever kind of bully you were dealing with, maybe a sartorially obsessed sort of high fashion bully. They exist. But if you live in a digital world, Sherry Turkle suggests that you don't have in your proximity, so as you might react to their reaction, you might be able to engage in a human way with their reaction to what you've made them feel. So you can go, "Hey, you smelly fucking bitch, you stink. You're a really stinky girl. You stink." But if you've written that to somebody in a Facebook message, then there isn't, and then you just send, and then you go and have a petit filou, and you go, "This is a nice petit filou," and I have to contend with none of the emotions that may or may not be visible on the face of the victim, my victim, who I've just bullied. So it doesn't affect me really, and I actually, all I got was the endorphins of having done it, which of course you do get. You go, "Oh, what's this?" You test the landscape, you say something awful, and you get a rush from it, and then without the hurt there, you go, "I'll just do that again. That felt great. I must remember to be horrible to somebody." Solitude reinforces a secure sense of the self. People feel uncomfortable left with their own thoughts for a moment. Okay, so I suppose this is from a different chapter whereby she's... this is something that I'm not sure about with regards to... I bought a new pair of headphones the other day. And they're fantastic. And I adore them. And whenever I'm walking somewhere to pick something up or to go shopping, or I'm going to meet somebody, or I'm going to a gig, I will put my headphones on and I will listen to a podcast, possibly my favourite podcast at the moment, which is a podcast about... No, that was a shit joke. I have no energy to make a shit joke, I'm sorry. I was just going to make the worst joke in the world. About the history of fish. It was going to be a cod pasts podcast. Okay? But my podcast about the history of fish, a particular breed of fish, the cod pasts podcast. I found them in an old notebook. I've got a bunch of them written down. Me and my friend Henry did them. We laughed so much. What was another one? I'm sure that there's a time and a place for this. It's not right now. But I've started trying to go out less and less with my headphones so that I might develop an internal monologue. Things like drinking we do to drown out the internal monologue. Listening to music and podcasts is another one. Like, you think, I need to be intelligent, I need to be smart, I need to listen to all these podcasts. But I think you'll actually get a lot of... I tell this to you as a podcast listener or viewer, like, who could be alone with their own thoughts, developing their own sort of synaptic pathways and neural pathways, and developing whatever strength your internal monologue has to come to whatever conclusions it wants to about the world. And I do find, sad to report, the boring thing is the good thing, but it's brilliant. And I think so. Actually, I've built a lot of this book into my everyday life, and I've dated this the 20th. I read this on the 20th of April, 2016, so quite some time ago. I'm impressed at how much these ideas have resonated. It must be because I kept them in a fucking notebook. Should carry on doing this. This is fucking eye-opening. Okay. Solitude reinforces a secure sense of the self. People feel uncomfortable left with their own thoughts for a moment. Yeah. And with the phone's become like a drug. I feel very, like, as soon as somebody goes to the toilet, I think, oh, great, I can check my... It's not, oh, the person I'm with has gone to the toilet. I guess I'll check my phone now. I think, oh, great, they've gone to the toilet, now I can check my phone. For what? I can't believe how, I'm podcasting for God knows how long. I don't look at my phone. I've only got these fucking 2 screens to keep me company. Nightmare. So the 2 arguments so far that I've taken from this book are the inability to engage with ourselves or others destroys our faculty for empathy. That's a Thoreau quote that she uses in the book that I seem to have written down. And that's what I've written down from here. Real people with their unpredictable ways can be difficult to contend with after one has spent a stretch in simulation. And then I've written... So there's 2 different points here. Next point, we use social media to connect, but really we disconnect from our inner monologue. That's the same point as before. From a journal to a news feed, we have gone from self-reflection to self-presentation. Shared journaling, like all publishing, leaves us vulnerable to the desire to gratify our readers. Here's a huge fucking idea. And it's much bigger than just social media, but the way in which Netflix is made, or TV programs generally, the way in which the news is made, the way in which all journalism is made. Shared journaling, like all publishing, leaves us vulnerable to the desire to gratify our readers. Now, 2 quotes. I can't remember. Sarah Pascoe said it to me. The brilliant Sarah Pascoe, who has brilliant books that I've read and brilliant sitcom that I've seen. Just in case she needed a plug from me and all of my brothers and sisters here. Hi. The audience rewards bad habits. That's what she said to me. I'm not sure. I think she got the quote from somebody else, but I can't remember who she told me she got it from. So I'm quoting her, as that's the mouth that I heard the noise from. The audience rewards bad habits, which works into that idea that we are left vulnerable to the desire to gratify our readers. Now, it might not feel like a bad thing, the need or want to have people be pleased with what you're doing, but like anything, like it works on the Aristotelian golden mean. There is a sweet spot between excess and deficiency, and if you don't give a shit about what your readers or viewers or whoever think about what you're doing, then you don't put any effort in. You don't plan or prep what you're going to say. You don't work in the moment on being engaging and work on where you can go next. And then excess, well, you're just constantly on the make for whatever it is. At the expense of what I might be interested in, I might go on a one of those what's trending now topics and talk about everything that's trending, and then have a more searchable YouTube podcast video. It's a good idea. I should do that. Jesus Christ, I should fucking do that. Anyway, there's a good line from The West Wing where he says, "You don't want to be like the French general." And it's a bastardized from an old quote. You don't want to be like the French general who says, "There go my people. I must find out where they are going so I can lead them there." You don't want to be that person. You want to know where everybody wants to go before they do. You want to know something that everybody wanted to know all along and was so delighted that you were the one that could tell them. That's the best person to be. But, as Sherry Turkle is saying, the desire to gratify your readers can inform what you say. So, on Twitter, you make two types of joke. You make a joke that is at the expense of the people who threw Edward Colston's statue in the river. Make a joke at the expense of them. Whatever you think, like it's, jokes about the people that threw Edward Colston's statue in the river, they're fine. That's fine. There might be something funny about them. Who knows? I don't know. I'm picking this as an example in terms of outlook. Then make a joke about the fact that they are silly, the people who threw Edward Colston's statue in the river, and then make a joke at the expense of the people that think it shouldn't have been thrown in the river. Now, the joke about the people who think that the statue shouldn't have been thrown in the river will get a bajillion likes and retweets or whatever. It'll be easier to accumulate likes because you will be aiming at the common enemy. And therefore, you are encouraged, if you've done both of those jokes, your first one won't have got so many likes, so many retweets. People won't want to have associated with it, because even if they thought it was funny privately, they won't want to have... They just won't even bother to take the risk of being aligned to something that might be... I don't even know... The joke's fictitious, it doesn't exist. But that might not chime with the most... progressive thing to think. So you are encouraged algorithmically to people please, which changes your own makeup of your emotion and pushes us into polarized places and almost radicalizes us to the left, to the right, to the center, perhaps, in all extremes. So shared journaling, like all publishing, leaves us vulnerable to the desire to gratify our readers. I love it. Friends. Friendships, yes. The security blanket of a phone. The friend beside you and the friend on your phone. Diluting the human experience. Yeah. Okay. I suppose diluting the human experience. The thing is that it's very easy, and I'm reading that back. I'm not quite as enthusiastic about how. I mean, the danger of being too keen to gratify our readers and doing a certain type of joke on stage, it getting a huge laugh, but it got a laugh because it was shit. It played off an easy stereotype. It was an easy way to get a laugh, but it got a laugh. This joke is better, I think. It doesn't get such a big laugh, but I believe it to be a more interesting point. But the audience who I want to gratify are telling me that the second one is better. Who do I trust? Me, who there's one of, or the audience, who there's loads of? It's me, because I know better. But I want to make the first bit, so I don't go, fuck them, they don't know anything. They do. They know that they thought that was funny, and that's fine, but I don't, so I don't like it. I'm taking it away. I'm just saying it doesn't just exist on Twitter, this phenomenon. The demos influencing the mind and the output of creators. If you want to call people who tweet creators, it is, I suppose, in a sense, creative to a tune. Diluting the human experience is a thing I don't feel quite as passionately about, I guess. I suppose because I know that it can augment the human experience in a way, and it can do good things. And I don't believe that it's all bad. I just don't think we've quite worked out how to use it yet. Sherry Turkle. I'm going off you in a hurry. Well, these are just, you know, these are just rubbish notes now. And, now I've got all the notes that I made from The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. Clive Staples. Clive Staples. Is that you? Or have you been abolished? No, come in, have a drink. Clive Staples. I'd go by Staples? No, I'd go by... Well, he went by Jack anyway. He went by Jack. And he probably didn't have a great sense of humour after fighting in the Somme. Maybe that's one for another day. The other thing I was asked to talk about by a girl whose name I've forgotten. Sorry. Was the Kardashians. And now I don't have an opinion on the Kardashians. At least not one that makes some sort of value judgment on them and who they are. I've heard a lot of things about the Kardashians. That's the other thing I don't really know that much about. I've watched the program a little bit when it's been on in the background, when Jessie's watched it. I find it more confusing than anything else. I can't really engage with them. I'm fascinated by them though. In two sorts of ways, because I wonder what they want from life, like what their ambitions are. I also wonder, having watched the program, to what extent they have the ability to self-reflect. Because I was talking to my brother about this. He's a vegan. I mean, and like, I was saying, like, is there a hierarchy on things that you would eat? Like he said, because I said I eat oysters. I'm vegan. I'm eating oysters. I'm going to eat oysters. And he went, well, they're not vegan. And I went, yeah, but surely they're more vegan than, they have no central nervous system, no brain, no capacity for pain, no desire to want to carry on living. They don't feel, they have no mind. They just don't. There is, for everything that it means to be sort of conscious or to perceive anything, they have like inbuilt like evolutionary whims that are kind of preset in their DNA to move towards the part of the ocean where the nourishment is, like a plant moves towards the sun. It's not, I'm eating it, and scallops and mussels. And I said, is there a hierarchy of veganism? So, like, would you be more keen to eat a mussel or whatever than a dolphin or maybe even just a cow? It doesn't need to be a dolphin. And he said, yeah. If I was being forced at gunpoint to eat one of those two things, I definitely think it would be my moral choice to eat the mussel ahead of the cow or whatever. And I went, right. And I went, why is that? And he said, well, because there's more awareness in the cow. There's a greater sense of sentience. There's a greater emotional faculty. There's the capacity to kind of nurture and love, and with the love that it can feel for its young, I suppose, a desire to want to carry on living. And I went, okay, well, that's a good answer. Does that extend to people? Is that how, if you had to choose between murdering two people, do you think the one who has a greater level of sort of sentience, a greater capacity to feel, a greater emotional intelligence, do you think they're more deserving to live than... Basically, I'm saying, like, if you could save Joey Essex or Stephen Fry, who would you save? And that was obviously a harder question, but one I think it's interesting to think about. And basically my point with the Kardashians is I wonder to what extent they are alive. Like, I find it very hard to engage with them as human beings. And I think that's sort of their own fault. But then everything that they provide, again, like the diluting of the human experience, they have diluted their own human experience for us to be, I mean, not entertained, Jesus Christ, let's not go that far, but at least to be engaged with something that's going on their lives. Are we supposed to be fantasizing about what it would be like to be a Kardashian? Or even though we have it all, we still have problems because my husband is one of them, like a drug husband or something? Are you my husband's a drug husband again. And then everybody goes, oh no, Courtney, Kim or Chloe, whichever one you are. Or one of the young ones who, like, there was one, and what's the storyline between the young Kardashians is that, well, they're not Kardashians, they're Jenners, and that one of them was extremely naturally fuckable and hot, and then the other one hated everything because she wasn't, and then had loads of surgery, and now she is, and she's got £1 billion. Is this right? Anyway, I have no... I think there is a kind of... I get why people watch it, though, I think, because to be disengaged with, like, life and circumstances and just the existential dread that comes with living every day for a lot of people, to watch the Kardashians muddle through and their big problems be, oh no, there's lipstick on the on the lobster thermidor when it came out, and oh no, somebody's been bitching about me, so I'm going to go and do a photo shoot to teach them a lesson, or whatever the storylines are. It's good to go, oh God, they're not... Like, I want to watch Kourtney Kardashian be kind of frightened about mortality and go, God, what am I doing? Like, I'm just sort of skin, and I've got this chance on Earth to be something that loves and feels, and I've just spent half an hour talking about my drug husband to my family, who only pretended to care because of the film crew that's here, recording a version of my life that is so pervasive it's stolen what reality I have. Reality TV is a total contradiction in terms, it seems, because it's made my life unreal to the extent that not only is the TV program fake, but everything that happens when the camera leaves is fake. I can't even take a shit without wondering what it would, without thinking that I better do this in a way that's appropriate for somebody to see or watch. This has ruined my entire life. But again, I don't really know any different, because I was cajoled into this program by my mental mum, who saw her daughters as an opportunity to make money, and now we all do. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my take on the Kardashians. It's not my take. I don't have a take. I thought I'd try and speak about them, knowing nothing about them, and see what came out. An interesting experiment. Thank you very much indeed. I hate those fucking comedians who get on stage and go... I mean, I think it's an interesting thing to think about whether or not... if there was some way you could kind of clinically gauge, like, whether some humans have a higher level of consciousness than others, which seems like they do. And if some humans have higher levels of consciousness than others, then does that make them more? Does that give them a greater right to life? Where is the human right to life built? Why is it there? Interesting stuff to think about. Part 2 is with Jessie Cave. I've tried to do the sound all right. I hope the sound is all right. If the sound is not all right, I apologise for the sound not being all right, but I tried as hard as I could to make the sound all right. Please come and see me on tour. Please come and see me at the Soho Theatre. Please give a good rating on iTunes. Please subscribe and comment below what you think about, consciousness and its and what right it gives you to be alive. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, I like brothers and sisters. This has been great. It's great to be back. I hope you've enjoyed this studio. I hope you enjoy the next one. I'd like a better microphone, I think. The next voices you hear will be part 2. It will be Jessie Cave and Alfie Brown for the Alfie Brown Show. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day. Have wonderful weeks. I treasure you, listener. I really do. And I thank you for your continued support. Hello and welcome to the Alfie Brown Show, part 2, with Jessie Cave from Trollied this week. My special guest, the most special guest in every day of my life.
Why aren't you doing your voice like you usually do when you go hello and welcome?
That's just a thing that I do when I'm ill.
Oh, I thought you were just embarrassed in front of me.
No, what, did all my gruff thing?
You do like a slow hello and welcome to the Alfie Brown. So
no, I don't. I don't know, maybe I'm more excited. I've got company, so it's always a bit of an ordeal when you start talking to nobody, whereas it feels a lot more natural. So maybe I can find my conversational rhythm a lot more naturally than I can when I'm alone. Also, I'm trying to be low because you're just down there asleep, so I feel I I feel quite nervous about being too loud so that I might wake you or a baby.
But that's all about to change, isn't it?
It is all about to change. Listener, viewer, you are listening to the last ever Alfie Brown Show from up here in this space. For tomorrow, I start a move, starting with this desk, and then every other bit of kit in this room will be moved into a new central London studio space, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
We hoovered it today, didn't we?
We hoovered. Yeah, you need to change the plastic bag that you're using for the little mouse not to get in. Change that into just change it into something nicer than an old Waitrose bag, I think.
What is the nicest thing that you can think of that you would use to plug a hole? So there's the radiator tube that goes into the floor, and the hole that they've cut in the floor for the radiator tube to go through is too big, so mice can get up through there and have done before. So what would you recommend?
Like a silk scarf or something pretty.
Don't you think it's a bit of a waste of a silk
No, but
scarf?
I have so many hair scarves I don't use. You can have one of them.
Hair scarves?
Yeah, hair scarf. But I thought the point of a plastic bag was that it was all rustly and stuff, and that's what they don't like.
Oh no.
Do you remember how scared you were of that mouse? That's before we moved to another house and there were so many mice. That was before we knew anything about mice. How far we've come.
Yeah, that particular mouse was a bad one. That was there's something incredibly creepy, but because it was like Alien. Have you seen Alien?
No.
Where you see the end of the
I've never seen any film you ever reference.
apart from the ones that we've watched together. The alien runs down the end of the tunnel.
Right.
And it quickly moves out of view, and that's like the horror thing, that you see it and then you don't.
Right.
And that's the thing. Then it could be anywhere, and then you turn around and it's like just nipping at you.
Do you remember last night I said that it's like having having children because, well, children who don't sleep, because very often we hear creeping and we like tiptoe to see if we can catch them in the act. It's like having mice, tricking them.
And dogs.
And dogs. Well, the baby is a puppy. I've decided he's just a puppy in human form.
Isn't he around the same age whereby like he has the actual like the relative intelligence of an actual Labrador?
It's a very intelligent Labrador, because you know how intelligent this baby is. He's a genius. I've told you this
He's
many
so
times.
advanced.
He's a genius baby because he already knows 2 words. Okay.
That's less words than most Labradors.
Well, yeah, but they can't say them.
No, but that's because that's because of their palate and the way that their mouth works, isn't it?
Too bad for them. But this baby
Yeah,
can
but intelligence-wise, you can say, "Hey, roll over, sit, lie."
Yeah, I can do. I say to him, "Sit."
Come
he
here.
sits down. I say, "Stand."
Yeah, I
he
know.
stands up.
That's my point, isn't it? That he's like relatively as intelligent as a Labrador.
And he can speak, so he's better than a fucking Labrador. And he's cuter. He's tiny. He has little shoes. Anyway, his first word is drink, which Alfie is, he's his father's son. But he's a Libra, so I don't think he's going to be as big a drinker as you. This one, however, think he might compete with you. But, Donnie and Ten, I don't think they're going to be big drinkers because they're Libras. They're balanced.
They're not Libras.
They are Libras.
They're not both Libras.
Donnie and Ten are Libras. Come on. That's why I got induced early with 10. So we wouldn't be a Scorpio. Anyway, I don't want to derail your listenership by talking about star signs.
I find this very, very off-putting.
Yes.
This is one of the things that if I'd done any investigation, or if I'd... How much before we met or went out on a date had you sort of online researched me? Or was it the
none
days...
at all, obviously. None at all, because I
What do you
wasn't
mean, obviously?
interested. I wasn't interested.
You were interested enough to go out on a date.
Yeah, but I wasn't interested in enough to research you thoroughly. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Also, it wasn't really... It was late 2013 when we kind of, I don't know, was speaking. I don't even know if it was then, but
It was early 2014.
Very early, because we're coming up to our 8-year one night stand anniversary, January 15th. And I remember I had on purpose not looked you up online because I didn't want to... This is after we had slept together because I didn't want to have any hopes about seeing you again. And it works. If you are restrained online, you soon stop caring.
Yeah, but then that's saying if you're mentally strong, then you can be mentally strong.
Yeah, I know, to be fair to me. And also I was very distracted, wasn't I? Because I didn't realise I was pregnant.
Yeah, you were vomiting the whole time, so you didn't have a real chance to...
No. And I was very busy as for once as an actress.
Yes, you were. You were in...
I was in many things.
A sitcom, weren't you?
Many things, yeah.
A sitcom.
It wasn't a sitcom, it was a drama, actually.
It was a sitcom.
It was a drama. It was a Channel 4 drama, Glue.
No, but you were also in a sitcom.
I was in lots... That year, I worked so much that year. Maybe that's why I keep getting pregnant, because I want to try and redo it.
I don't think that's why you keep on getting pregnant.
No, I just love tiny shoes.
You have an addiction, don't you?
I think I do. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's something you could read about on here. No, I haven't even watched Harry Potter. I still haven't.
Okay.
Baby addiction.
Oh, fuck off.
Some women driven to baby addiction. We can read this on the podcast. This will be good, and you can tell me what you think of it live. This is very American-style podcasting.
I think that, though, to qualify for baby addiction, you need to have over 8 babies. So let's just have 8 first.
We'll soon find out when we... Oh, nice trainers in the pop-up.
Oh, God, they are disgusting. They're little hobbit shoes, Alfie.
Jessie doesn't like wallabies, Clark's wallabies. Jessie doesn't like them, and I want them, but she won't have them.
I know you're joking. You cannot want them.
I do want them.
No.
They're very trendy. Why do you think they come out? Look at what's the name of the store that they're advertised in?
Therapist store, see?
The hip store. While it was once common for American families to have 6, 7, or even more children, today the sight of such a large brood makes many people stop and ask a seemingly simple question. Why? Plenty have been asking that ever since the news broke that California mom, Nadia Suleiman, gave birth to octuplets after already having 6 other young children. I think I... Oh my God. I would already be in, like, very North Scotland by now. And celebrities such as Angelina Jolie, your hero, and Mia Farrow, not your hero.
Although I liked her a lot in that Woody Allen documentary, or that Woody Allen shaming.
Yeah, the Woody Allen, hit job that she put out, where she funded a documentary to call him a paedophile. And Mia Farrow, who have large families, have long been an endless source of public curiosity and speculation. There's not always a simple reason why people create uncommonly large families. Some parents cite religious or cultural reasons for having large. Some say they just love kids and feel they can provide a big family with a stable, loving home. Some want to help a child in need, so they add to their biological families through adoption. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, I want to adopt as well. You know I do.
Adopt, don't shop.
I want to adopt.
Adopt, don't shop.
I wouldn't mind fostering when I'm older.
Okay, and now can you run me through the difference between adopting and fostering?
Well, adopting, that's like having another child, whereas fostering, you're homing the child for a limited period of time before they maybe leave home. They're old enough to not have
like borrow my doggy.
I don't know. I don't never borrowed a doggy.
There's apps, aren't there, where people who have dogs can give you their dog to look after if you want a bit of a dog, but not a whole dog.
I mean, surely we're not too far away from that culturally.
Yeah,
borrow my...
Please look after my kiddie.
Borrow my kiddie. That would be actually a great app.
Yeah.
Just to take a day off parenting occasionally is absolutely brilliant. I mean, we're doing this right now.
Yeah. We're having our children looked after by somebody else. Am I on camera? Look at the screen. Am I on camera? Do I look all right?
You are on camera.
I'm on camera, so the shot's okay.
Why?
Because I'm looking at you, so I don't know if the camera's getting me.
Yeah, you are on camera, but you're kind of leaning away as if you hate me.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to get into the microphone.
Oh, right, no, I don't actually look like I'm hating you. Some of your hair is not on, but that doesn't matter, does it? It's just hair.
Okay.
So but it would be nice to adopt, definitely, from another country where they have children in need, and fostering, I think, would be a really nice thing to do. To troubled teenagers when you don't have kids at home anymore. So you want, when this baby is old enough and it has left to go to, I imagine, I have a feeling this one's going to go to a Bath Spa University and study creative writing. Oh God.
The Bath Spa prospectus, when I was looking through them when I was at school, was my favourite prospectus. because it had gummy bears on the cover. When that goes, you want to get a new, like a teenage sort of sex offender in, so that we can try and correct them before they get a job or something.
That'd be great. No, I don't. I want to have some time with no children in the house, and then I would like to try and help in whatever way I can. And if that isn't, becoming a midwife or a nurse or whatever, I would like to. This isn't a dream. What my ambition for my entire life was?
Yeah, be a midwife.
No.
Be a mother.
No.
Be a carer.
No.
Social worker.
No.
Have a foster home.
What was my dream as a little girl?
To be in Harry Potter, to be in Trollied.
To run an orphanage.
So I was right, like care home, run a care home.
I wanted to run an orphanage, like a fun orphanage.
A fun orphanage. Hey, stop that grieving. We've got games to play.
Grieving. Oh no. Well, you can never stop grieving, Alfie, okay? We've talked about this. It's always on. Or like a comedian's always on, grieving is always on.
She's always on. She's always on.
Anyway, can we get away from my addiction to having babies, please, and talk more about you and your problems?
But sometimes the desire to keep having children can be rooted in complex psychological issues dating as far back as one's childhood. Now we're getting to the nub of the problem, Jessica. Cave.
Okay, if you've had one child, if you're from one child family, you're probably more likely to have 1 or 2 kids. But if you're from a 5-kid family like me, it's weird to have just 2. Sorry.
Why? Why not correct the...
It's not correcting. I had a great time.
While the current book of psychiatric... Thank you, Jessica.
Dummy.
Diagnoses, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders has no entry on baby addiction. Mental health professionals say that they see patients, mostly women, who desperately want to keep having newborns, even when they already have several children, that's us, several children, and aren't managing their family situation well, that's us.
Shut up.
That they say is a big red flag, no matter what term is used to describe it.
So
it can be an addiction. Says, listen to Gail Peterson, a family therapist in San Francisco area and author of Making Healthy Families. Well, Gail, it's Alfie here. And I would like to say thank you for drawing attention to this chaotic and pervasive problem. Or pervasive, at least as far as our family. I mean, I've consented to these children, I suppose, so I am to blame.
If you're having babies to complete something in yourself that never got completed, you are really talking about an addiction, she says. Yeah, I'm not using it to complete something about myself, because that would probably be more apt if I didn't have another life on top of having children. But I feel like I do have huge ambition and wants away from having children.
Yes. Yeah, you do, yeah.
So I don't think I am addicted yet. You never know.
No.
I think that is something slightly addictive, though, given that I am extremely exhausted right now, and yet we're having another baby quite soon.
So you know how I'm not addicted to alcohol, but I do have a drinking problem.
Yes.
Do you think you have like a childbirth problem? Like a baby problem?
Well, I would have loved to. I would love to know what my mindset would have been like had 10 not had the welcoming to this world that he had. If that had gone well, and he had a normal birth that hadn't been rushed and induced and then neonatal unit hell for that, it seems like forever, but it was actually only 1 week. If that hadn't happened, whatever. I don't know if I would have wanted to get pregnant so quickly. Because I remember vividly, after you had gone home, because you had to go home because of the restrictions, one of the nights I was alone.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, because you didn't just want to go home and watch The Sopranos, you wanted to go home. You had to go home because of the, it seems barbaric now actually to think about, but yeah. Harrowing experience. Then I was left alone.
And to see our children, the existing children.
Yes, of course, yeah, and that was nice.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
And to get some sleep. But basically, he was upstairs in the neonatal unit. I couldn't be there the entire time, so I was just alone. And I remember lying there thinking, I need to get pregnant. And that's weird. That is weird. But I think it was because I was trying to correct the mistakes made with that labour and that pregnancy, and trying to kind of to justify this trauma by having a good experience of birth, which I don't think I've really had apart from Margot. There's something, it just, like my friend told me the other day that a doctor told her that that birth, giving birth is the biggest trauma your body is likely to ever go through as a woman. And that's not the narrative we're given as women, I don't think. We're told it's going to be brilliant and it's going to be hard but worth it, and it's going to be a bit painful, but everyone can do it and it's going to be fine. And actually it's a huge risk, and I only know people who've had terrible experiences. I know very few people who've had actually good birth stories.
Yes, but isn't there like an evolutionary thing whereby your body has to flush out the memory of what it was like to give birth, so that you actually misremember it as being far easier than it actually was, so that you're inclined to reproduce again?
Yeah, it must be. That must be the case, because I think whenever I've spoken to anyone who has given birth and you ask how it went, they just have this look on their face and they say it was hell, and then you kind of stop talking about it.
Would you have gas again?
The gas with Margot didn't work, did it?
It always worked, but I mean, I was speaking to somebody about it the other day who said that they actually felt like the gas didn't help with the pain. It just made you kind of go mad, so that the pain was like something different to the way it usually was, or it just made you go, because I think the 2 times that you've had gas, you've gone like bananas.
I don't remember.
Exactly.
I don't remember. I remember the 10 I needed it, but that was because it was like within 2 minutes of the pessary getting taken out, I was in like full on labour, which is weird and unnatural.
It is.
But the gas actually was a useful technique, I think, because it made me have something to focus on during those. Yeah,
you feel like you're doing something that helps it. But anyway, when are you due?
We're not saying, we don't have a due date this time, Alfie, remember? Yeah, we're just letting the body see what it does naturally, okay?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Okay.
Anyway, you now look thoroughly depressed after I've just talked about birth for ages.
I'm not. I was just, I didn't realise we were doing a no due date thing.
I didn't realise we were doing a birth talk.
Neither did I, but that's
I didn't realise we were doing a therapy session about my addiction to having babies.
Well, how did we get there?
You jumped on that wagon quite quick.
No, but I think there was
you made me have this baby. You wanted this baby.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
You did. Because you want the prizes. If I have another baby, you want the rewards, don't you?
What's my reward if we have another baby?
You get to leave. You get to leave for, the first 12 weeks of his life. You can go and have a nice holiday, which is what they do in other cultures, which, again, no one really does here. Yeah. This is if coronavirus doesn't happen again.
We're either very progressive or very regressive. We haven't quite worked out which one we are yet, have we?
I think we're a mixture of both. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. I mean, that... Yeah.
It is a good... If it happens, I think it's a good idea. I think so many men say that in the first few weeks after the baby's born, they feel slightly obsolete and redundant because they can't do as much as the woman, because the woman is usually feeding nonstop. And even with this baby, 10, we tried to do things a bit more equally.
But you didn't really like that, did you?
I didn't like it. I did like it, but it was useless. No offense. It wasn't useless. It was just, it wasn't what I actually needed and what the baby needed.
I know what you mean. But also I could only help in a certain way. So me staying up or like trying to sleep with the baby, but like having the baby till 5 a.m. actually didn't help you as much as we thought it would have done.
No, but it helps in the desperate days. But I think in terms of implementing a routine early on, it was a disaster. But that wasn't either of our faults. We were just so desperate for sleep, both of us, and to be happy.
Okay. So, away from baby addiction, what did you want to talk about?
I feel like you've now just rejected my baby talk, and now you're like disappointed about our entire relationship.
You can't joke about things like this because there are fragile people who listen, who take...
You need to conclude if you're going to just wrap up a subject. You can't just now say I'm addicted to having babies and then be like, well, what else did you want to talk about? Well,
But I'm trying to speak in a light-hearted way about baby addiction because it's like funny because we're having a lot of babies and we're only
well, yeah, but you've just
young.
also fucked me up, and now I have to move on
How
to
have I
another
fucked you
subject
up?
because now I'm worried that I am addicted to having babies.
Well, I'm worried that I'm addicted to
Gail has made an impression on me.
Well, Gail Peterson's a very shrewd and intelligent woman. Okay, so how
Okay.
are we going to conclude this then? That you
I
are...
don't have a baby addiction.
You don't have a baby
You're
addiction?
very excited about having another child.
I'm not addicted to alcohol.
You are.
So you're addicted to babies.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Fine.
what's-
Okay. Fine. Both of us are addicts. Yeah. And we've fallen in love. Two addicts fallen in love.
It's a tragic story. It's like Timothy Chalamet and Steve Carell, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
In that film.
yes.
That's basically like a really long music video.
You cried so much at that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I thought actually Timothy Chalamet was very good in Don't Look Up. As a hippie boy.
I'm going to... This is going to come after the podcast that I'm going to record later.
So I can't say any funny jewels. No. I'll save them for myself.
No, I'm just saying that I might have spoken about Don't Look Up.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Cool.
That was on my list of things to talk about because everybody's been so incredibly boring about it on Twitter. Have you been on Twitter recently?
I saw an Instagram saying that it was an amazing film, but then I've also heard that some people have said it was terrible, but I've only seen good things about it. Anyway, you can save that for yourself, yeah? You'll chat on your own.
My chat to them, friends.
Alfie has recently purchased a big knife
A Santoku knife.
and some MSG.
And some MSG.
And he cooked a meal last night and it was the best thing I've ever eaten, but I'm very thirsty.
I've told Jessie that there's nothing bad in MSG. That I've done I've done a very broad and wide-ranging research on the subject. That monosodium glutamate is, non-toxic, passes through you, actually better for you than salt because it doesn't make you so thirsty. And now Jessie's trying to claim all sorts of nonsense. Of course, they managed to make mice very ill with MSG by sticking kilograms of the stuff under the skin of the mice, but actually eating it, it's all fine.
I just remember as a child being told that MSG gives you headaches, and that's why you always have a headache after you have a big Chinese.
Yeah, but that myth is that's not the MSG in Chinese that does that. It's the beaks or something.
Beaks?
I don't know. I'm making it up.
Oh my God. But anyway, it was very nice. You're very good at cooking, and I think you should actually gloat more about how good you are at cooking.
I don't like to because I think Louis is better at cooking than me. Vaz is better at cooking than me.
I don't think cooking meat is cooking. Just saying that. Just saying that. So I know they cook a lot of meat, but that's not cooking, okay?
Oh my God.
Cooking is spices and stuff. And if you're using ready spices, that's not cooking either, yeah? Cooking and making a good meal out of very few ingredients is actually cooking.
Some people might say that using a bunch of MSG isn't cooking.
Well, exactly. Well, then I did feel like it was a bit too good to be true, that meal last night.
First of all, what I did was I baked the tofu. So the tofu was really nice and crisp, wasn't it?
That was very good, yeah.
Baked it in lots
good.
of seasoning. No MSG on the tofu.
Really? It was very good. So we've talked about cooking now. What else would you like to talk about? What about our 8-year anniversary? Have you got me another gift? Alfie hasn't given me his Christmas presents yet.
I got her lots of little things.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them.
Just her big present's still to come, but I've got
Sure.
her lots of little things.
Sure.
Lots of little things. What did you get me?
I got you a whole outfit.
You didn't get me a whole
I
outfit.
did. We went shopping and I bought the outfit. So they're my clothes you're wearing.
Well, I'm not wearing them now.
Part of them. Maybe not, actually. You discovered your love for TK Maxx last year.
So cheap.
I just was haunted by the TK Maxx in Ealing as a girl. It's a sad place.
What was wrong with it?
It was just, I think it was when TK Maxx first opened, and I just remember just not trusting that place.
Right, but this is yeah, I get, okay, fine, but the trawling through the endless horror of clothes to find the one thing that's been reduced from, and I'm sure they whack up the original price as well. There's no way that this was actually reduced from £175 to 30.
That's almost as much as my dry robe.
Well, it would have been, but it was actually just £30.
Yeah, that's
but there's
not
just
true.
no way. They hiked up the original price.
You could look it up.
Could do.
You could go around with your little fact
But
check
finding
thing.
these little things in there, made by folk and good people, you know, the
Are they the
exhilaration.
brands?
Huh?
Are they the brands?
The brands, yeah.
Yeah, okay, not actual folk and good people.
Folk and Percival.
Folk.
In TK Maxx, who would have thought?
Yeah. I just remember a lot of teenagers going in TK Maxx after school and not really coming out again. It's just a very odd place.
Yeah.
It was in that same little shopping mall. Do you know the one I mean? It was the one where, you know, where McDonald's is in Ealing Broadway?
Yeah.
I don't know if McDonald's is still there now. But, yeah.
I think the McDonald's would be, that's quite a
Survivable
well-surviving
thing.
business,
yeah,
isn't it?
True. There was also a hippie shop. And do you remember in that
Is this where the Top Shop and Top Man was?
That was further on, that was on the high street, but this was on the corner of the high street. Where it went like divided into two rows, and it was called the Arcadia Shopping Centre, and I think before that it was called the Glade Shopping Centre. So when it was the Glade, there was a really weird shop, a skater shop, where all the cool girls went to get their skater clothes. Like, you know, at the time it was really wide trousers that don't suit anyone who's not very, very skinny, and so this shop used to just really bother me because the girls would get their wide trousers there, and I would feel like
hang off their their hips.
Yeah,
Their very
and you'd
skinny
have
hips.
under the hip. Like, can you believe that was a thing, to wear trousers that low?
So like to have your little kind of pubis actually kind of showing.
I so wanted one of those.
I know, pubis.
Yeah,
You wanted a pubis.
I wanted a visible pubis.
Yeah.
So much.
I wish you had a visible pubis.
I wanted one so bad. Never ever have had one in my life. Only when I lie down, and that's only on a thin day. Thin week, you know, it doesn't go in a day.
Oh, stop talking about your sodding thin days and thin weeks, honestly.
I think I'm obsessed with it right now because I can't see anything below my boobs.
Right, I've got
Some backup cards.
I've got some cards here. I've got prepared questions. Some juicy stuff. Juicy. What do you blame your parents for?
Is that an actual question, or are you just trying to therapize me again? I don't. I'm trying not to have any blame in my life right now.
That's a really good answer, if a bit of a cop-out. What might a good friend of your parents say about you?
I've just always called weird.
Really?
Always weird.
Always weird? Forever, even since primary school?
Yeah. Always weird person.
I imagine
weird.
you've been quite a weird primary school student.
I don't think I was particularly weird. I think once you're labelled weird, you just...
Yeah, but I was labelled weird as well. And I was like...
But then you did comedy to counteract that, probably.
Well, no, yeah. Or
Whereas I did that to kind of
or to
compound my
survive it.
weirdness.
I mean, the weird children at school aren't really like, I don't know, there's two types of weird kid at school. There's the weird kid who have like learning difficulties, who don't get called weird, who just keep themselves to themselves and often make friends with each other, or at least that's what the case was at my primary school. And then there's like the weird kid like me who could fit in but actually nobody wanted to play with.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
how tragic that we've ended up with each other.
I know.
The only
but I think we
person-
would have been friends. I do.
I don't. I think we would
okay.
have tried to like bully each other to try and win favour with the people who we actually thought were cool.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just such a desperate time. Such a desperate time, childhood and teenagehood. I would love to have had like just a less desperate adolescence. And adulthood.
Adolescence.
Just entirely
Yeah,
desperate.
but I'm talking about your primary school career.
Yeah, but even then I felt desperate the entire time. Just completely desperate. Hated it. Such an uncomfortable child. But maybe that's maybe that's a good thing. I think children who have don't really have cause to think about happiness or awkwardness or if they're weird or not, maybe they don't have as interesting a time, or maybe they do, and that's
Yeah, that's what I don't like about our kids being popular at school.
But they're not necessarily popular.
They are.
Do you think
way too popular to be, interesting later in life.
I don't think so. I think they're both quite. I don't think they are. They're definitely liked. I think at this age, it's quite difficult to find a child who's not liked.
I was not liked.
At that age?
Yeah, desperately unpopular.
I don't remember anything pre-8. So you remember stuff before you were 8? Yeah, you remember too much creepy stuff, actually.
Yeah, I remember a lot of things.
That's so terrifying. We're fucking up our children.
Yeah.
They can remember things. Hopefully Margaret has my memory. She doesn't remember anything. Donnie will remember everything.
Donnie will remember everything.
But I think the fact that they have parents that have come from a one-night stand, technically, like Donnie, I think knows that now. I think he knows that he was lucky, he says. I think that's actually a really good foundation for a child in a way, because they're just, the mum and dad are there because they want to be together, and they're not just a normal married couple. They're weird friends who kiss each other and have a weird time together.
Weird friends who kiss each other and have a weird time together. Yeah.
2 weirdos are parents.
Yeah. Sweet.
You were such a loser, weren't you?
Yeah.
Were you a loser when you got to 6th form? Were you a loser?
Never made it to 6th form.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're a failure.
I was working in Topshop, and I was very popular at Topshop.
So you worked at Topshop from 17?
Mm-hmm.
You went straight from giving up school to Topshop?
Took me a bit of time.
So you had a bit of time off?
I had a few months off, yeah.
A few months off,
I read a few books. Sat at home in my dad's flat whilst he went to studio all day. I was a bum.
How did they feel about you doing that?
Relief.
They were glad you weren't at school anymore?
Yeah, relief. Huge relief.
But did you have a plan at that point to be a comedian?
No.
So what the heck? They can't have been relieved.
They were relieved that I was not going to be... They knew whatever I was going to do, it wasn't going to involve school. School wasn't going to help. There was no way that I was going to get good enough grades at school to get into any university, really. And if I was going to get into any university that would be worth going to for any reason other than socialisation. So any job that I was going to get later in life, or any success I was going to make of myself, wasn't going to be because I suddenly turned everything around at school. So they went, well, yeah. I mean, my dad quit school when he was 16. So his outlook was very much, yeah, sure. And mum was, yeah, like, why not? There was still at that point the idea, because I hadn't really discovered, or not discovered, it was my favourite thing to watch. But because I loved it so much, I never thought I could do it, stand up. So my plan was still at that point to try and get into drama school until I, discovered, or I went to go and watch some open mic comedy and realised, well, I'm at least already as good as that. So, yeah. At least I won't be the worst person doing it.
Did you have a negotiation when you said you didn't want to go to do A-levels? Did you say, I'm going to get a job? Did they think you were going to go and work? They didn't think you were just going to sit around?
I started my A-levels. I started the year. And then I went home one day and I said to my mum, I'm not
going in.
I can't go in anymore. I'm gonna stop at the end of this term. And she went, okay, well, you don't have to go in. Why don't you just, if you're gonna stop at the end of the term, why don't you just stop tomorrow?
Oh.
So I didn't go in the next. I went in the next day and said goodbye to everybody, and then didn't come in again.
That's so nice that your mum did that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that my mum was great at, was letting me make bad decisions and good decisions. But when I wanted to stop things, she was always really good about listening and understanding. When I wanted to drop out of art school, she let me and understood. And then when I wanted to get back in, because I realised I made a mistake, she was equally as, I'll help you and we'll work it out. So I think that's the best thing a parent can do, is just to let you find your own way with decisions rather than force them.
Yeah, at a certain age.
Yeah.
Like right now, I think you've got to cajole them into a fair few things to see what it is that they take to? What are they like? They need some shoving in a few different directions. But ultimately, and in the long run, I think when they get to about the age of 15, what they respond really well to is, I mean, that's my love of reading and books and everything was not something I had while I was at school.
Yeah, same.
It was only...
That's my mum.
It was only something that came to me in those months before I started work at Topshop, after I left school.
Yeah, you're lucky you found it. Some people never find it. Do you think that you would have got into reading if you hadn't have dropped out?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, probably. But I mean, I think all of these things are impossible to tell. Like, it's so hard to tell what you would have been like, or like whether you would have had the same moral characteristics. I think about all the friends that I've had who have such a massive bearing on who and what I am, and my morality and my humour, everything about me is because of quite a lot of coincidence in there.
Yeah, incidental things.
My formative friendship of my 20s with Henry, who now has abandoned and gone to Nashville, sadly.
Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. I was in a school. I was called in to do a school play because my stepmom worked at the school, and the lead character dropped out, and I had to be the main character in this other school's school play because she thought that I could whatever. But anyway, yeah. I cut Henry out of the play on the night his parents came to see it.
By accident?
By accident, yeah. By forgetting to do his cue line.
Oh my God.
So he just he dressed as a vicar in the back, going, what the fuck is going on? And his parents just sitting there watching this play full of kids without their son in it. Oh. So funny. Anyway, to say sorry, I got him. Anyway, we bumped into each other years later, and we spoke loads about that because we both remembered it really well. And I don't know whether we'd have just had that natural energy to start talking to each other as much as we did. But that's the closest sort of friendship experience I've ever had to falling in love. Aww. Like meeting him again when we were like 19, like we were immediately, like a tacit decision was made, like, do you want to be best friends? Yes. And then we were just inseparable for the next 10 years.
That's so nice. When? So how old were you when you met him?
19. 18 or 19.
Yeah.
I had just finished work. I was just, yeah. So I was still working I was working in Chiswick. Did a lot of till work. A lot of till work.
I just can't see that.
What, me doing till work?
I've never had an experience like that with a friend, I don't think. Because I'm such a loser.
And on that note...
no, you can't end on that note.
I was joking.
Yeah, I know you're joking, but still, just, you know.
We're winding it up now, though.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Alfie. Get rid of me as quickly as possible, as usual.
Liverpool versus Chelsea is about to start in 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, then you have to be really funny before I'm not going to let this end before you're really funny. Or you say something really nice to me.
You're the most beautiful girl in the world.
No, don't do that.
Are you the most beautiful girl in the world?
No, stop it.
Who's the name?
Jessica Alba.
Okay.
I am very proud of you for starting a podcast. You can't cut this bit out.
Okay.
And I would like to just get all the credit for his podcast because I've been trying to get him to start a podcast since we basically met.
Are you looking at me in the screen or yourself in the screen?
Of course I'm looking at myself. Who the fuck would I be looking at if I wasn't looking at myself? Looking at my jawline and my cheekbones to check that they're still there. They are actually. I'm satisfied that they're still there, at least.
All right.
All right, don't wrap me up. Stop it. I'm not going to start talking now. Oi.
Well, I'll just press stop.
No.
That'd be really funny. It'd be like
you can't do
that would be really good. It'd be like D'Angelo. What's the song where he's like gets a blowjob?
Oh yeah, he had a good pubis bone in that video, didn't he?
Yeah, he got a lot of pubis out.
That was such a sexy video. My God, we should watch that later when we're trying to have sex.
Ow.
Work it.
Ow.
Workable.
Ow, 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 ow.
Yeah. How does it feel? How does it feel?
I did the guitar quite well, didn't I?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really proud that you've started a podcast, and I'm really glad that people like listening to your voice. And I'm sorry that my voice has been a high-pitched addition to Alfie's podcast today.
Well, no, the great thing is that this will be at the end, so if they haven't enjoyed it, they can just click this off. So there's no need to listen to this all the way to this point.
Well, then how do you get them to force to listen to this? You should force them.
Everybody's going to listen to it, and we're going to be in the thumbnail together, aren't we?
Yeah.
Everybody's going to listen to this.
You're not going to call this one something like She's Addicted to Having Babies.
No, I'm going to call this one Jessie Cave brackets from Trollied.
No, because no one understands that. Because about 4 people have watched Trollied, and that is a tragedy.
It is, because it's a lot better than you think it is.
Much better. And we should raise awareness for Trollied.
Raise awareness. Well, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Jessie Cave from Trollied.
What was my character called?
Heather.
Yep.
Where were you from?
Warrington.
How old was your accent?
It was a very odd accent, we're not going to lie. And I haven't done an accent since. But I got the job. So, the accent was good enough to get me through the door.
Ahead of some very successful and good actors, actually.
Yeah. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Yeah, go on. Say their names. Say their names.
No, they've done very well, actually.
Yeah, much better.
Maybe the job was a curse. You never know.
Maybe the job was a curse.
But yeah, I'm glad that you are still doing a podcast.
Very excited about this bumper edition. There's 42 minutes of solid content here. I think we've been very nice to each other, had a loving relationship.
So yeah, we should just say the last time we attempted to do a podcast together, but this is before we moved here.
Liverpool-Chelsea has been going on for 1 minute.
I'm going to keep talking if you keep mentioning Liverpool and Chelsea.
Okay.
We had such a big fight that I think it caused us to move house.
No, we had such a big fight that it was one of the most chaotic and mean fights we've ever had.
But what am I trying to be less of this year?
Mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to be more of this year?
Attentive, energized, like...
Caress me. You have to caress me more.
Okay.
Alfie doesn't caress me enough. I only say caress because the word annoys him so much.
It's such a disgusting word.
Okay, well, you've done very well.
All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the podcast this week. Tell everybody to like and subscribe.
I think you should get Margot to do that. Margot started her podcast and she's very sweet.
What's her podcast called?
That podcast Chatterbox Mary.
It's her middle name.
And she can't say subscribe, so she says "sasag." So
right,
I would like.
She's probably not the best person to do it then, is she?
No, but it's just a cute way of doing it, Alfie. Okay.
Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. Please tell your friends all about the podcast. It's back, and it's going to be a very exciting year. Okay, new studio starts tomorrow.
Alfie's got to buy bookshelves though, because otherwise.
My lord! It's the end of the podcast. Say goodbye to the friends.
I don't know how many friends.
Say goodbye, friends.
Goodbye, friends.
Goodbye, friends.